Welcome, everyone, to the Fandom Podcast Network special presentation of Time Warp, where we cover the movie and pop cultures of an entire year. In this year's episode of Time Warp, we're going to cover the year of 1990 of pop culture, which, of course, includes the movies and all the television and all the notable news. The 1990 movies and pop culture and events are celebrating their 35th anniversary as of this recording. 35 years ago, and that means that we are discussing Time Warp 1990. But on this episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. This is July of 1990 that we're going to be talking about. July was actually a very busy month, not just for movies, but for television and entertainment. So what we decided to do is we're going to split this up in two parts, the video and, of course, the audio. So we want to make sure we get all the good stuff in there because we've got a lot of good TV bits that we want to cover. So the first part here, of course, we're going to be talking about the TV, music, and pop culture because we got a lot to get to. Of course, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. Make sure you guys also check us out on the QR code that we got rocking right over here. It takes us straight to the website. You can get all of our audio podcasts there. And again, Time Warp television shows of 1990 we're going to be celebrating, but I got to bring in my Time Warp crew here. And as always, I'm going to go straight to the queen of movie foo here, Lacey Adderhold. What's going on? I love that picture of us because we are in your inner sanctum of media there.
You love that picture of us. If you look at me in this photograph, I look like I've just spent 37 hours outside gardening and then come inside and like rolled in dust. Like
I don't see that, but okay.
Like I'm kind of like slouched between the two of you, like, hey. Like, I'm just like, I mean,
it's one of my favorite pictures. It's one of my favorite pictures, and I love that we got.
I love that, together, so. Dude. I embrace it though. Like, I love the look on my face. It's just kind of like, hey, camera.
We're not always together, and when we are, we make the most of it. So,
right.
But we can't continue though without one of my best friends of all time, and of course, my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, not too much, but we are breaking this into two parts because we've got so much to do. And there's a little story behind that because you know what, we can blame it on the rain, which caused the swamp thing, which causes things to blossom, which led to this podcast blossoming.
I see what you did there. Well said. Well done. Okay, guys. Yeah, we're going to be talking about all that stuff. So now I wanted to bring something kind of funny to the table. I just randomly found this. So 1990, and we're going to dive more into the TV shows, but also some movie stars and TV stars. They were all hanging out in Hollywood. A lot of people knew each other, and some went to movies and got very popular, went to television and got very popular. Found this picture online here to Vintage Stars Facebook group here. And what you're seeing here is Super Bowl Sunday in Hollywood 1990, the 49ers versus the Broncos. San Francisco 49ers win that game 55-10. And if you're looking on YouTube, there's a very cool picture here. Far right is Jason Priestley, who would land a role on Beverly Hills 90210 later that very year. Far left was his then roommate, Brad Pitt, who would land his first major role in 1990 in Thelma and Louise. Look at them hanging out there with cheap furniture, not quite a lot of money in the pocket, hang out two other buds. Actually, looks like three there, watching the Super Bowl, Kyle.
They legit have a lawn chair in their room. That is, and Brad Pitt's in an office chair.
Yeah. This is called single guy furniture, Kyle. You know what this is, right?
And honestly, even more than single guy furniture, this is single guy actor.
Yes.
Struggling actor furniture at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure the guy sitting next to Brad Pitt is Scott Cohen.
Who's Scott Cohen? That name sounds familiar.
He's been on a million things. He played Wolf in the miniseries 10th Kingdom. He was on Gilmore Girls. He played one of Lorelai's love interests. Okay. He's been in a ton of stuff. But yeah.
Well, sure. I wanted to just bring this question and this topic here because this is something we're going to be talking about during this segment or this part one of Time Warp 1990 July here. I want to start with an opening chat here, guys. Prime time TV invades summer. Now, being Gen X, as we all are here, guys, growing up watching television in the 70s and the 80s, one of the things that we can always count on was brand new shows in September, October, November, and then be a little break, and then we might get like the February sweeps, as they call it, and then there might be some reruns, and then we would get the final episodes in the May sweeps, basically. And then summertime, what do we do in the summertime? Well, everything was reruns, and they were trying to bring stuff out to entertain us, with maybe some movies or whatever. And we spent the summers outside and riding bikes till the sun would come down and go see movies and stuff. But television was not like a priority. Well, that changed in the 90s specifically. Yeah, Kyle, you want to jump in there? What do you got?
Well, I don't want to steal your thunder here, because there is one really big reason why that changed.
Well, go ahead and say what that one big reason is. See if it's going to be what I was going to say. Go for it.
There's the coming of a little network named Fox.
Yes. Well, set me up here, Kyle, because Fox started pretty much with a few shows. Simpsons were one of them, right? Married with Children.
Simpsons, a little bit later on 90210 with summer seasons. But Fox was trying to do everything different because they knew they had to get eyes on them. And so they were debuting a lot of shows in the summertime and have specifically summertime new programming. And the other networks kind of snuck up on this. There is another aspect of this too. It's not just Fox. Fox was the leader. Yep. Syndicated television was becoming bigger and bigger. And syndicated television was year-round.
They had summer episodes of Saved by the Bell. I mean, it was becoming a thing. They wanted to get that TV audience continue watching during the summertime. And as you'll see when this episode of Time Warp continues, new television was dropping in July and in summertime. Lacey, I want to get your thoughts on this here because I know you were watching a lot of TV like we were. Did you notice the shift of new summer television?
Yeah, it's crazy because if you look at just picking 90210. Back then, the first season had 22 episodes, just like everybody else. After that, it went to 28, 28, 28, 30, 32, 32, like just to keep something on the air.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing is that I know that everything it was done with the school year. Okay, like that's how the television was created. I mean, the schedule was created. So you start school in August. End of August, beginning of September. By the time the first week of September comes through, everyone's in school.
Yeah.
Even, people in, wherever, like all over the country.
For me, September is when we started school. So, and then that's when all the new stuff was dropping, like in the second week of September or middle of September for me. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. But no. So then you had one episode during November, because everybody's out of town. So you had one episode that was like the weekend after Thanksgiving, and you always had one episode the weekend after Christmas.
Right.
Or whatever your shows were.
Yeah.
Because they had to do like the holiday.
You had to have the holiday shows too in there. So
then they had the break during January because nobody's doing anything during January.
Yeah.
And then February comes along, you have, the rest of your 22 episodes. If you have 22 episodes.
Yeah. The February sweeps. Yeah.
Episodes,
yeah, definitely. So it was a change time when it came to summer programming, and 1990 was a huge contributor to that. And I remember watching 90210, as we talked about with Jason Priestley joining 90210 later this year, that it might have been the following year, 91, we were like, what? We're getting new episodes of 90210 in the summertime? Hell yeah. And
Kevin, the good old Beverly Hills Beach Club.
Yes, that's when everyone was working at the beach, and all those shenanigans were happening. So and before we get into the main part of the show, though, we just want to let you guys know what else is happening on the network. For Time Warp specifically, last year we celebrated the year of 1984 because everything was celebrating its 40th anniversary. I had a wonderful run with that, and this year we're doing 1990. And, of course, we're starting off right now talking about July Part 1 with the TV, music, and pop culture, followed next by Part 2, the movies. So, guys, let's go ahead and get into the main part of the show here. As we always like to say, let's step back into 1990, fuel up that DeLorean with a flux capacitor, slingshot around the sun aboard that captured Klingon bird of prey, and one of my favorites, a hot tub time machine, as we celebrate all the pop culture that's happening in 1990. Now we want to let you know what's happening in 1990 around the news. Of course, we've got stuff going on here. July 1st, German reunification in East Germany and West Germany merged their economies. The West German Deutschmark becomes officially the currency of the East. Also, the inner German border, constructed in 1904, also ceases to function. This is a big deal. I remember that. I just also remember somewhere David Hasselhoff was involved.
Yeah, we owe it all to David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, he brought the Germanys together. Yeah, there you go.
Interesting tidbit of information. The only country to ever have won a World Cup that is no longer in existence is West Germany.
Oh, how funny. Wow.
Yeah. The only country that is no longer in existence who, at the time of their existence, has won a World Cup.
The USA District Court acquits Imelda Marcos and her shoes on racketeering and fraud charges. Just remember, it was all about her shoes. She had some shoes.
I feel like there were some checks happening during that. Yeah. I feel like there was some money exchanging hands. I don't know.
July 7th. Yeah, that was fishy. July 7th through 8th in tennis, Martina Navratilova of the United States wins the 1990 Wimbledon Championship women's singles, and Stefan Edberg of Sweden wins the 1990 Wimbledon Championships in the men's single. And July 16th, by the end of June, Saddam and his lieutenants suspect a conspiracy against Iraq devised by Kuwait and orchestrated by the U.S. Earlier in July, they threatened to invade Kuwait unless $10 billion is sent to Iraq from Kuwait. Then Kuwait refuses, and on July 16th, Iraqi forces begin to gather in southern Iraq near the Iraq-Kuwaiti border. Ooh, I remember this very well.
Nothing like a little bit of extortion on the on the world stage.
I know, right? Well, let's get into something more fun. How about toys and tech, guys? This should be fun. All right, the first thing that we're going to talk about is Dr. Mario, Nintendo. Nintendo still hot on market along the infamous Nintendo World Championship of 1990, throwing the company into legendary status with our generation. Dr. Mario was released for the NES just in time for everyone with a system to put on their holiday list. The 215-stage game for the pre-med puzzle thinker was a Saturday well spent in most people's childhood. Kyle, I don't remember Dr. Mario. Is this take correct or not?
This is correct, because basically what you had was, we're Nintendo. We have Mario, which is, of course, Mario and incredibly popular. But we are riding this phenomenon of this game on our little portable system called Tetris. Let's combine the two and make a lot more money.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
I loved this game. I had so much fun. And I'm pretty sure it was on Game Boy as well, right?
Yeah, it was on the regular system and on Game Boy.
Yeah, because my sister had it on her Game Boy as well. But man, I murdered that game. Oh,
Tetris I got into, but I don't remember. I didn't have that console at the time.
The crazy thing with Dr. Mario was everything was like a pill, and you had to not only did you have to, it wasn't so much matching the shapes to fit in, it was matching the colors.
Well,
and the number, like you had to get a certain number of them in a row for them to go, and then the other drop pieces would drop once the. Yeah, so they look like the red and blue. They basically look like Sudafed capsules, which is a great thing to put.
Well, speaking of games, the Commodore 64 game system, often abbreviated as the C64GS, is the cartridge-based home video game console version of the popular Commodore 64 home computer. It was released in December of 1990 by Commodore into a booming console market dominated by Nintendo and Sega. Excuse me, I didn't say that right. Sega! It was only released in Europe, but was considered a commercial failure. The G64GS came bundled with a cartridge containing 4 games: Fiendish Freddy's Big Top O Fun, International Soccer, Fimbo's Quest, and Clax. I don't remember this one at all. Kyle?
The Commodore company's last gasp to stay relevant. It was much too late. It was all about Sega and Nintendo at that point.
I had the 64 computer and monitor, but I don't remember this.
Because at this point, like I said, Commodore had pretty much, this was their last gasp. But I mean, this didn't even. The only reason I even know about the system is we had an oddball video game store in a weird little mall that carried all these oddball stuff. And they had.
I guess that explains a little bit. Surely, it says out of the approximate 20,000 consoles produced, only 2,000 were sold.
Yeah. About the same time too, you had Atari trying their last gasp with the Atari Jaguar, which was a honker system.
But you said this was only in Europe?
According to the information I got here, it was only released in Europe and was considered a commercial failure. So it did not.
Well, that's the problem.
I mean,
in Europe, everyone still walked and played outside. Soccer, hello. If they wanted to sell this, they needed to release it in Asia and the United States.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming some made it to the United States, obviously, but yeah. Anyway, probably
2,000 of them.
Commodore 64. I still have mine. Now, this is interesting, guys. Check out this product here. It's called Dakota Cigarettes. Dakota was an American brand of cigarettes, which was owned and manufactured, of course, by the infamous R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. Dakota, check this out. This does not surprise me, those guys, those bastards. Dakota was introduced in 1990 and was mainly marketed towards 18 to 24-year-old blue-collar viral females, in quotation, with no education above high school, held entry-level service or factory jobs, had no career prospects, and had a high probability of being unemployed or employed only part-time. Controversy. Dakota was targeting towards viral women, in quotation. And it says the details of the marketing campaign of the Dakota brand were leaked to the Washington Post and reveals that the cigarettes were narrowly targeted at a demographic described as the viral females. Despite the denial of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company to have specifically targeted young females, this revelation sparked widespread discussion of targeted advertising in general in the media. Introduced in 1990, discontinued in 1990. I have no memory of this because I didn't.
Yeah, me either.
I'm trying to figure out if viral female, I'm trying to figure out if that was a.
Is it viral? Maybe viral female.
I think it's viral.
Oh, VIRIL. Oh, okay, viral.
Yeah,
okay.
I mispronounced that. It's viral.
So is that coded for?
All I know for sure, and I remember seeing documentaries about RJ and the promotion of cigarettes, was that they were targeting certain areas with certain products to sell them, and would market them in certain magazines and newspapers and stuff like that. And sometimes they would do promotions where they would give out free cigarettes just to get people excited and addicted to them. So yeah.
I was a cigarette girl for 8-9 years.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I was a cloves guy until it started hurting. All right, guys, let's get into the next topic here. We got some celebrities born in 1990. All right. Some of these I know, some of these I don't. Some of them I really do know. Margot Robbie. She was born in July of 1990. Of course, I like how in Wikipedia though they have her as the Pan Am short-lived TV series actress, but now she's like a major movie star. Jeremy Suarez. There we go, from the Bernie Mac show. Connor Paolo from Gossip Girl Revenge. Also, we have new Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan, of course, in the new Superman 2025 movie. She also was in House of Cards and Manhattan. James Maslow, actor for Big Time Rush. Stephen Anthony Lawrence, Amanda Show, Even Stevens. Davy Chase. Also, we have Bianca Santos, Indiana Evans, Soulja Boy, the rapper, Monroe Chambers, Canadian actor, and actor Elliot Sumner. These make me feel old, guys. I'm just saying. All right. We do have a few celebrity deaths to pay tribute to here. July 7th, at the age of 70, Bill Cullen, game show host for the original host of The Price is Right before Bob Barker. He passed away. July 8th, Howard Duff died at 76, actor for Felony Squad. And Carl Weber died July 30th at the age of 74. He was in Search for Tomorrow as Arthur Tate. There you go. Let's get into some music. All right. It's always a fun section here is the music, guys, for 1990. We have some events we want to talk about. I remember this. This was a big deal. July 7th, the Three Tenors give their concert at the Baths of Caracalla in Rome. I'm probably mispronouncing that. That's Placido. How do you say his name?
Placido Domingo.
Placido Domingo, Luciana Pavarotti, and Jose Carreras.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this is a big deal. It was in cinemas, and I remember them playing it on television. I remember them releasing the audio of it, CD and stuff like that. Do you guys remember this, Lacey?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You want to talk about it or just say?
I mean, I wasn't really like into it at the time. I know it happened because, I remember hearing about it, and it was kind of everywhere. Like you couldn't not know about it. It was on, I mean, it was in the news. It was on People cover, like it was like People magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
Look at the grocery store. I remember seeing that on the cover of like 8 magazines at once, and I was just like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
because not my style of music. 1990. I'm 16.
These guys were all famous of their own, right? And did wonderful concerts and recordings, and getting them all together was such a big deal. I do remember that. Even though their music really wasn't my thing specifically, dudes had great voices though. So yeah. All right. Next we have Roger Waters, July 21st, and numerous guest stars stage a performance of Pink Floyd's The Wall in Berlin, Germany, to commemorate the fall of the Berlin Wall. 8 months earlier, Scorpions, Cyndi Lauper, Thomas Dolby, Sinead O'Connor, the band, and Bryan Adams are all among the performers. This is a big deal for all these guys. Of course, you guys don't know Roger Waters is part of Pink Floyd. He's kind of famous. And this was a big deal to get them all to actually talk about The Wall. And, of course, the Pink Floyd's The Wall movie and album and all that kind of stuff. That was a big deal for music fans, celebrating the fall of Berlin. And it's funny, too, if you look at, like, the stage there, it looks like the wall is breaking apart. And with the big – it's pretty cool. That's neat. So. All right, next we got Billboard Top 100, guys, and we like to celebrate a snippet of the Top 100. We've got about 8 here to talk about, and we're going to be talking about songs number 53 through 46, starting off with Do You Remember by Phil Collins, who is everywhere at this time. We also have How Can We Be Lovers by Michael Bolton, Praying for Time at number 51 with George Michael, number 50, No More Lies by Michelle, 49, Come Back to Me by Janet Jackson. Number 48, With Every Beat of My Heart by Taylor Dayne. Number 47, Have You Seen Her by MC Hammer. And number 46, Blame It on the Rain by Milli Vanilli. Lacey, do you recognize any of these songs?
Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil Collins. That's my man right there. Do you remember? Yes. I feel like I know you're gonna laugh at me. I know the title "Blame It on the Rain," but for the love of all, right now I can't remember like even like how it
Blame it on the rain, yeah, yeah. Blame it on the rain. I don't want to sing it too long, so I don't want to get sued.
That's not ringing any bells for me.
That's not helping.
No,
Kyle, what about you?
Okay, well, Phil Collins. I've always been a Phil Collins fan. I remember that song. It was actually the song it was the love theme song for a movie we covered on a earlier Time Warp, Firebirds.
Firebirds. I forgot about that. God, see, you have the good half of the brain right now.
And that's why I remember it probably, because I don't remember music unless it was on a soundtrack.
Come on. How Can We Be Lovers by Michael Bolton was, whether you like Michael Bolton or not, that was a huge song at the time. That was everywhere.
I was digging on Taylor Dayne With Every Beat of My Heart.
Well, yeah, and I was going to get
a couple
to
of hits, so yeah.
The most catchy song on here is Taylor Dayne With Every Beat of My Heart. That song gets in your head and it goes. You got to give Jan a little love. Come Back to Me is one of her better songs, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about Blame It on the Rain here very shortly. So I'm going to hold off on that.
Oh yeah, we're talking about that right now, guys. We're going to talk about Milli Vanilli here because we have to. Milli Vanilli in 1990. That's where everything kind of came to a crescendo and then just fell apart. But I want to talk about this album. This is the big album that they released right here. This is called Girl, You Know It's True. And they had several hits off this album. Girl, You Know It's True, Baby, Don't Forget My Number, Blame It on the Rain, It's Your Thing, and several other ones on here. And then they also released the Girl, You Know It's True New York Subway Extended Mix. That was the one you heard in the clubs. And I want to go back to 1989 when the single was actually released and it started making it through all the clubs, the dance clubs. The album didn't hit or came out in 89. And then they released, I think it was Blame It on the Rain in 90 as we see here. But that song, Girl, You Know It's True, was so freaking catchy. And no one really knew anything about Milli Vanilli. They just knew it was called Milli Vanilli. And then obviously they knew they were, Frank Farian, the famous and infamous producer, knew they were onto something and saying, well, we got to release a full album here. And of course they did. Now, I want to get into the Girl You Know It's True 1989 album that served as North America debut for German R&B duo Milli Vanilli. It is reconfigured and repackaged version of the group's first album, All or Nothing, with several of the original album tracks replaced and are mixed for the North American market. The album was a major success in the U.S., producing 5 singles that entered the top 5 of the Billboard Hot 100, three of which reached the top position. Think about that for a moment. In January of 1990, Girl You Know It's True was certified 6 times platinum by the RIAA after spending 7 weeks at the top 200. Additionally, the album spent 41 weeks with the top 10 of the Billboard, a top 200, and 78 weeks within the charts overall. The album was also certified diamond in Canada, denoting shipments of over 1 million units. The success of the album earned the duo a Grammy Award for Best New Artist on February 22nd, 1990. Now, on November 16th, 1990, Los Angeles Times reporter Chuck Phillips reported that the group, which consisted of reputed vocalist Rob Pilatus and Fab Moran, did not sing a single note on the album. Arista Records dropped the act from its roster and deleted their album and its masters from their catalog, making it one of the largest selling albums to ever be deleted. In addition to this, their Grammy Award was revoked, marking the only time a Grammy was ever rescinded from an artist. And here I have pictures of the Blame It on the Rain cassette single and Milli Vanilli being stripped and giving back in a press conference, giving back their Grammy. I remember this very, very, very well. It was a big deal. I remember people like Arsenio Hall had a blast making fun of these guys and joking about this. Kyle, I'm going to turn it over to you.
The power of a skipping CD and what it can do. Because if most people, they were doing a concert on MTV. It was an MTV event. And
Downtown Julie Brown, I think, was hosting the event.
Yeah. They were performing and the CDs that they were lip singing from started skipping.
It was a CD or it was like a digital track that they had.
Yeah, it started skipping and that took everything down. And Kevin, I mean, I want to back up a little bit on that. It wasn't that it's kind of started the ball running, but a lot of people knew that they were lip syncing because a lot of artists that do a lot of techno dance or whatever and stuff like that, they will lip sync to pre-recorded tracks. It's not a big secret. Because they do a lot of dancing and stuff like that, but it did lead to what was happening. So the rumors had already been kind of there, and this really triggered everybody diving in after it.
Yeah.
But you mentioned not only did Arsenio Hall have a field day with Milli Vanilli, the guys over at In Living Color were relentless.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Wayans got much material out of Milli Vanilli, and here's the crazy thing about it. Whoever was the true singers, and I know they've been revealed at some point, they were very good. They were good. That was good music.
I want to elaborate on that a little bit more, Kyle. This album is what I call a banger album. The musicianship behind this album is phenomenal. I was playing this in my car recently, and I don't care that these guys didn't sing a note on it. They're pretty much good-looking hype men if you want to really narrow it down. And I do know that the original musicians did tour under their real names, and people did go out to see them because they were really good musicians.
Yes, they were. And like I said, I don't think this is one of the biggest scandals, I think, in modern music history. I mean, the only time I can think of where there was a lip-syncing thing that was as destructive to a career was poor Ashley Simpson on Saturday Night Live about a decade ago.
Yeah. There was an issue with a pre-recorded track going on there. Well, everyone was making fun of them. Unfortunately, went their separate ways. They did try to a little redemption tour. They did try to actually sing together. And I remember Arsenio Hall actually having them back to perform. And they tried to do that for a while, but it just didn't quite catch on. Fortunately, we find out several years later, I think it was Rob passed away due to alcohol and drugs. But I did want to bring to the table, though, if you haven't seen it already, I have a picture here on. I'll get you in just a second, Lacey. I have two pictures here of two programs. The one on the right, called Milli Vanilli, is a great documentary on Paramount Plus, talking about this. And it's great too, because Fab, who is still alive, he's moved on and done other things, and he did some solo stuff for a while. He's interviewed, and it's a very kind of heartwarming story about how these guys were good friends and how he still misses his friend, and how they got caught up into playing the part that Frank Farian, the famous producer, says, look, we need the guys to pretend that they're singing because that's how we're going to help sell these records. And then the Girl You Know It's True picture you see there is actually a movie that I'm holding here in front of my hand, in front of my face right here, called Girl You Know It's True. I got it on DVD. I got it when I was in Australia last month, and it's a German-made but American English with a little bit of German subtitles. And the actors that they got to play Milli Vanilli nailed it. They were fantastic. And it's what I like about it too is towards the end, the two actors kind of break the fourth wall. And there's a very sweet moment about the whole scenario with it. I highly recommend the movie. These guys were great. The guy who plays Frank Farian was good too. It's a little bit sad. You start to feel bad that they were kind of like puppets, and they had this secret, and they were happy that it actually did come out. But unfortunately, they couldn't quite recover their career on that. Lacey, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I know you weren't huge with the music, but I'm sure this had some impact on you and some fandom. And you're on mute, by the way.
Boom. Hello. I think that, even as recently as 2012, I think that if you say revoked or rescinded award, you think Milli Vanilli Grammy, you think Lance Armstrong Tour de France, and you think Vanessa Williams Miss America. Those are the three, those are the big ones.
Yeah.
Where I remember those things happening. Well, Lance Armstrong was more recent, but Vanessa Williams was like 85, 6, somewhere there. I was in middle school at the time. And then Milli Vanilli, I remember there being a big old kerfuffle. Now, I knew the one song, but I didn't know the Rain song.
Yeah.
I knew
Blame It on the Rain was their ballad, and
okay.
And the guys, Rob and Fab, were all in all the videos, and looking very good doing their thing. A lot of spandex was happening too, and they both had
outfits. It looks like a lot of matching.
Well, they both looked similar. They were good looking. And they worked out.
Are they related?
One of them. No, they're just friends. They've been friends. They grew up. They've known each other for a long time, and they wanted to make it. They started as backup dancers, doing some music videos and going to clubs. One of them had the dreads or the braided dreads. One of them had the more flared out dreads and stuff. So they had a certain look. They were great, good looking guys, and their videos and songs were very, very catchy. And I think that album still stands up. And it's kind of sad because now people make millions of dollars off of TikTok for lip syncing. So, yeah, it's interesting how things come around. So.
Even on large arena tours, there are tons of people in large arena tours that, if you're going on stage, 220 nights a year, that they're told to lip sync at least,
it depends on the acts, but there's a lot of pre-recorded stuff for certain concerts to help, especially if you're just like a person on a mic, and you don't have a backup band, depending on what it is. But yeah, it's a big deal. So Kyle, any final words on Milli Vanilli?
I think it's one of the more tragic music stories of the last 50 years, as far as you have two guys who just wanted to get famous, and they got pulled into this. They got used. Yes, they've admitted they're part of it, and they did the right things after everything happened. I think the biggest crime out of it all is that the original musicians never got the proper credit that they should have gotten.
Yeah. And when you see that Milli Vanilli documentary, they interview several of those guys, and it's worth checking out. And you know, watching the movie. By the way, this is also streaming on Peacock. This movie here, if you can't find a DVD, because it is this is a Region 4 DVD, but I have multi, so I can play it. But check it out on Peacock. It's streaming there. If you have Peacock, it's a really good documentary. The guys were great. I was really impressed with them. And you can see, the guy that played Frank Farian, who was the one that put all this together and also blew the whistle. He finally came out and says, "Yeah, this is what happened." So anyway, let's get into some television, guys. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is talking about the television of 1990. And one of the things that we also like to do is mention if there's any events out there, some notable events. And so this was a big deal, 1990 of July. Let me go ahead and bring this slide up here. July 5th, ABC airs the National Academy of Dance's first annual Gypsy Awards from the San Diego Convention Center. Taped on January 19th, America's Dance Honors is notable for making Sammy Davis Jr.'s final public appearance prior to his death on May 16th. Liza Minnelli taped a special introduction to the show in light of Davis's death. Later in that December, Davis gave his final acting performance in the made-for-TV film The Kid Who Loved Christmas. Rest in peace, Sammy. What a legend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Kyle, I got questions about this one. I'm going to ask you a question. July 10th, CBS broadcast the first of 4 consecutive Major League Baseball All-Star games. Unfortunately, the 1990 edition from Chicago's Wrigley Field is interrupted by a rain delay in the top of the 7th inning. During the delay, CBS airs Rescue 911. Was this when they still hadn't had the lights up on Wrigley Field, right? They had to do it earlier in the day, or
no? It was the prior year they turned the lights on at Wrigley. This is what enabled them to get the All-Star game.
1989, right?
In 1989.
Okay. For those that don't know, Wrigley Field is one of the oldest stadiums in the U.S., and they were one of the only stadiums that didn't have lighting for night games. So all Wrigley Field games up until 89 were all played during the daytime.
Yeah, it was a huge production, and this is where things get interesting, because the first night game when they turned on the lights at Wrigley Field got rained out.
Oh, of course it did.
And the next year, because this was the All-Star game, finally returning to Chicago, Wrigley Field, because they could do it in prime time. It had been so long. Huge deal. ESPN was making a huge thing out there. You're hyping this out thing, and 7th inning, here comes the weather. And it was inclement weather all day long. And because it was the All-Star game and the rain never let up, they called the game after 7 innings.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a loyal viewer of this next show right here, 21 Jump Street, Johnny Depp makes his final appearance as Officer Tom Hansen on 21 Jump Street. This is also the final episode to be broadcast on Fox as for its 5th season. Ultimately, the final season, 21 Jump Street, would air in first-run syndication. Why? Because he was going to become a movie star, and I think he already was at this time, pretty much. This was a big deal, guys. And then, of course, eventually we got Booker, last
I have Booker. I love Booker.
So do I.
Yes, that's awesome. I didn't think to bring Booker over here. Oh, my goodness.
That's all right. We're not talking about Booker, but yeah. I think we'll touch on later, but yeah, we had Booker eventually. Kyle, what did 21 Jump Street mean to you?
21 Jump Street, and this is because I was living in Alaska at the time, and we got Fox we didn't get Fox until like the NFL went to Fox. So I was literally in a place where I had people sending me VHS tapes of The Simpsons, early on. So I wasn't there when the 21 Jump Street thing got big and launched, but what I remember about 21 Jump Street was it was definitely one of those shows that really put Fox on the map, put Johnny Depp on the map, and was very huge for a while. I think the bigger thing I always remember about 21 Jump Street too is it was the show that also gave me the introduction to the DeLuise brothers and their acting and directing abilities.
Yeah, there was a lot of guest stars that went on to more famous roles. I remember that, but 21 Jump Street was just great because you had these guys pretending to be kids in high school, and then they were getting a little older, then they had to do college stuff. I remember they did the college hazing stuff and everything, and it was great. And Holly Robinson Peete, of course, Holly Robinson at the time, more famous also for doing the the theme song, the 21 Jump Street theme song. And I'm also going to go on record saying I love the 21 Jump Street movies that we got later in the early 2000s.
Yes.
21 Jump Street Part 2 is what I even like better than the first one. It's hilarious. I love those movies because they're comedy, poking fun at it, but they're also paying tribute to it. And we also got a quick little cameo too of the former stars of the TV series as well. I don't want to spoil that, but yeah. So there you go. All right. I don't know about. Oh yeah, Lacey, back to you. Sorry.
I didn't get to talk about 21 Jump Street. That's
I know. I'm bad, Kevin. Go. Sorry.
It's funny because this is all of my friends were obsessed with either Johnny Depp or Richard Grieco, and my crush was Peter DeLuise.
Really?
Loved him. And then when I found out that he was so involved with Stargate, because he directed a ton of Stargate episodes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Directed and produced, I think. Yeah.
And he also does like sci-fi directing, and there's one called Yeti that is the funniest thing ever, and I love it. It's a horror movie. It's awesome. But yeah, that's where my love of Peter DeLuise started.
Gotcha.
Oh yes.
Love Peter. Yeah.
Yes.
Good show. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but this is when I started getting into ordering like magazine subscriptions, and Entertainment Weekly was one of those magazines I lived and died by. I got great information on it. It was also great to sit on the toilet and knock that thing out. It was awesome. but
you're knocking out.
What? That sounded weird. Yeah, it did. Oh well. Anyway, Kyle's being very quiet and it's creeping me out.
Yeah, I'm just
July 30th, Movie Time, which initially launched on July 31st, 1987, is a national barker service to air movie trailers, entertainment news, events, and awards coverage. And interviews is rebranded as E! This name change is made to emphasize its widening coverage of the celebrity industry complex, contemporary film, television, and music, daily Hollywood gossip, and fashion. Otherwise known as ETV, Entertainment Television. This was a big deal for me. I loved it. Lacey, what about you?
Okay, so it says 1990, but then underneath it says... Oh, I see. Never mind. I was very confused by the reading. I was listening as well, I promise, I swear.
Before it became E,
right,
its conception came out in 87.
Gotcha.
So
nice.
Yeah, he changed a lot of things as how the entertainment industry was covered. And I mean, they had some very popular shows for a long time. They even had some great like fun talk show kind of things going on, and
you'd start seeing them on all the red carpets for television.
It launched several. E Network launched several pretty significant careers too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of July and television here, guys, we have one more thing here. July 31st, Memoirs of Murder, the first ever film to be produced by the Lifetime Television Network, is broadcast. And of course, that starred Nancy Allen and Vanity.
That's my birthday.
Birthday July 31st.
That's my birthday. It was on my birthday.
Did you watch Memoirs of a Murder on your birthday?
No. No, I did not.
Oh God, that's funny. Yeah. So it's interesting, when we look at Lifetime Television, it's like, it's kind of this, it's like, are you a Lifetime or are you a Hallmark person? I'm more of a Hallmark person. Lifetime got a little bit darker. Hallmark doesn't get dark.
Yeah, Lifetime. I mean, okay, Hallmark is adorable, cute, meet cutes, romances, occasionally the murder mysteries and stuff, but it's always like it's a left turn from Cabot Cove, right? It's always a takeoff on Murder, She Wrote, right? It's either a baker or a bridal shower person, and they just happen to solve all the mysteries all the time, just as a course of habit.
Right.
Lifetime is your husband is cheating on you with the babysitter.
Right.
It's like,
no.
Oh my.
Lifetime is also the women having a midlife crisis and has the affair with the coworker or the
the pool boy.
The pool boy or the teacher or the son's or daughter's teacher.
Yes.
Something along those lines.
Or if they are a teacher, they're having an inappropriate relationship with the student.
The extramarital affair channel.
Or also the woman in peril.
Yeah.
Who gets stronger as the movie goes along and fights back.
So Lifetime is a basically adult film version of NBC after school specials.
Good way to put it. Yeah. You were reading my mind.
Because those kids grew up, those actors grew up and had to still keep acting.
Yeah.
And so they did that. That works.
So we have some July 1990 TV debuts, and this is where things get interesting. And this is the main part of the show, guys, that we want to share with you. Some of them are kind of lesser known, or maybe you forgot about. We had July 4th on Nickelodeon. We had Skate TV, spelled SK8 TV. The start of professional skateboarding X Games before the X Games. And you may recognize that young host there in the picture. That's Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
Also co-stars Samuel Ringnor and Skate Master Tate. I vaguely remember this. I didn't have access to Nickelodeon at the time. Kyle, do you remember this?
Why do I have a sudden urge to kill some cereal? For those of you, a little hackers reference there. But no, this was a weird time for Nickelodeon because they were kind of in transition. A lot of their hit shows from the 80s had kind of ended and wrapped up, and Nickelodeon was trying to figure out a new direction. This is pre-SpongeBob. This is pre-Rugrats, I think, even before that kind of stuff hit popular. So MTV was trying to figure out a thing. The skate culture was growing. Tony Hawk was bringing it a little bit more mainstream. Yeah, we weren't quite there yet. So this was probably a little bit before its time.
Yep.
Sorry.
Go, Lacey, go.
There were a couple of years where Nickelodeon and what was the other kids TV network? Not PBS, but the other. Anyway, there was a couple of years where they decided that the kids that they had started with, with all the children's network stuff, had maybe grown up. And so they were trying to they were trying to grow with their audience. And then all of a sudden it was like after 2 years of trying to figure out how to do teen or preteen shows, they were like, wait a minute, there's more kids. We'll just get the next ones.
Yeah.
And just backpedaled and went straight back to all kids shows. Yeah.
Well, speaking of kid shows, the next one, 1990 here, I don't remember this one at all. Wild and Crazy Kids. This came out also in early July. Teams of kids compete against each other in a variety of physical competitions and sports. Stars Johnny Jeffcoat, Omar Gooding, and Jessica Gaines. Obviously a Nickelodeon show here, watching kids have fun, having fun games. Kyle, do you remember this?
I remember them hyping this a lot. And what everybody was saying was, why are you doing this when you already have one of the greatest game shows of all time on Nickelodeon, Double Dare?
Double Dare.
Nobody could figure out what the hell they were doing with this. I think this show crashed and burned pretty quickly.
Let me just say,
Double Dare,
if they actually put out a video collection, a physical media collection of Double Dare, I would legit watch that today. I would go back and watch every episode. I mean, it was like family.
Those were some of the funnest tricks and competitions they ever did. I felt like
that and remote control. I mean, nothing to do with what we're watching now, but yeah.
Kevin and I are currently having Kari Wurer flashbacks at the moment. Thank you.
Kari Wurer, remote control. That was my jam. Well said. All right. Now we remember this one.
Children's Survivor. That's all I'm saying. That looks like Survivor for kids, and that's not something I'm going to be involved in.
Woo. July 5th, 1990. Blossom debuts on NBC. A teenage girl living in a house run by men dreams what it would be like if she lived in a more unconventional family. That's what IMDb says. Creators Don Rio, of course, stars Mayim Bialik, Jenna Von Oy, and Joey Lawrence. What did he always used to say?
Whoa.
Whoa. I almost kind of felt like Joey Lawrence became the bigger star here. I'm just going to admit it here, guys. Please don't think I'm too creepy, but I really crushed on Jenna Von Oy. Really did.
No, you're not alone. You are not alone, my friend.
Thank you. Lacey, your thoughts on Blossom?
I met Joey and Matthew and Andrew last month at Huntsville Comic Convention, and they were all so fun. And
they're some of the nicest. Family, that the three of them are so nice.
Yeah, and I got, matter of fact, one of the options for their, because they all have different things, and a lot of them have kind of done crossovers on each other's shows and stuff. But one of the shots was a picture of the three of them in tuxes, just kind of a candid shot. And I was like, oh, that's a great shot. It turns out it was one of their weddings. It was just like this shot that was a great picture of all three of them. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I have a picture of the three of them at one of their weddings, just signed by all three of them. Yeah.
Kyle, your thoughts on Blossom?
Blossom was actually a big game changer for NBC. NBC was kind of struggling a little bit at this point, trying to find a new hit, and Blossom just hit. You had Joey Lawrence, and he was, let's be honest with you, Joey Lawrence, when Blossom was done, everybody liked Miami, but Joey Lawrence was it. I mean, he was huge. And
it's kind of like Urkel taking over Family Matters, you know?
Yeah, it was, but it was a great cast. I was a fan of the entire cast. I thought the show was always solid. I mean, it wasn't anything. It was a fluff show, let's be honest with you, but it was fun. What I always joke about is I think the two biggest sets of brothers in modern, or of the three brothers in modern entertainment history, are the Lawrence brothers and Hanson.
Yeah.
But
I would go Jonas over Hanson, but that's
Jonas. Yes, you're right. Jonas too, but
I will say that I love the fact that for Blossom, Maya Bialik, her character was like the struggle, like the teenage girl struggling to figure things out, and so that was kind of the answer to Doogie Howser, right? Like, so there was a boys struggling with learning all the things was Doogie Howser, and then for girls it was Blossom.
I was so happy that go ahead, Kyle.
Kevin, I was just going to bring this up too, because there's another Blossom crush here, because later on in Blossom, Finola Hughes joined the cast.
Finola Hughes. Yeah. From Staying Alive, right? She was the dance instructor in Staying Alive for, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Finola Hughes. Good call out. So I was happy that, so it was interesting too, is, we have Maya Bialik. She goes to college, becomes like a
neuroscientist.
It becomes very, very smart, even smarter than everyone else. And then she joins the cast of Big Bang Theory in that era of what she knows. And she's like, I thought she was the best addition to Big Bang Theory. She was phenomenal in that. So funny. Great counterpart, of course, to Sheldon character, and the fact that she would, I think, I remember her being interviewed that the writers of Big Bang Theory actually are we getting this science right? She's like, let me tell you how it works, So yeah.
There's a really great interview that she did the first season that she was on Big Bang, and the person interviewing her had not done their homework, and the woman was like, so how does it feel being on the show with all this crazy information? Do you do you have to learn it phonetically, or do you try and have someone explain it to you so that you know what you're saying, what you're talking about? And she goes, well, I mean, so I do have a PhD in neuroscience, and I've written like 6 or 7 whatever white papers or whatever it was. So I'm pretty familiar with what I'm speaking about.
Dissertations, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think you only do one dissertation for a PhD, but there's whatever. Anyway, but she was very sweet about it. She was like, so I'm pretty good about it.
I actually like her more in Big Bang Theory. I really think her character. So yeah, Blossom. We all had Kyle. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say this about Miami real quick. One of the few people to have major impacts on 2 different generations.
Yeah.
Blossom was a trend-setting show. A lot of people were dressing like her and
the hat
influenced by her. And then of course Big Bang Theory and what she was in that, and how that show just helped change culture so completely. So she is one of the most important people in the last, from 1990 to now, as far as a cultural changer.
Well,
and she is very, very active with with activism. She has a mom podcast about certain things. She is very she's very active for the anti-Semitism and the Jewish faith. She has all the she's very active in making sure that if people have questions, she's going to try and help people answer them.
Yep.
And that's really cool. She's got a lot of podcasts and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So, all right, guys, the next one is a personal favorite of mine, and I'm just going to go ahead and showcase the DVD right here because this is all I can get in physical media. and that is the show Dream On. I got seasons 1 and 2 here available. If they ever had a complete collection of the entire series, I would buy it. Dream On debuts July 8th on HBO. Now, Kyle, I just want to mention real quick, I thought this was the first HBO sitcom or one of the first major HBO shows, but I was wrong because I didn't get access to HBO till shortly after, I think the following year, maybe later 1990. I finally paid for it, but there were some earlier hits on HBO, right, Kyle?
Yeah, there was earlier hits on HBO. Dream On, which is a very brilliant and
hold on. I want to talk about Dream On first before you go into it, because I got something personal to say about it. So before you go into Dream On, I just want to ask you what happened before Dream On. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say at this point, and I'll let you get, was that if Dream On comes out 3 years later, when HBO is talking about its premium, when HBO become premium, this is a totally different story for this show, and we'll talk about it. But I want to let you get your point. But
that's a good point. That is a good point. So it's about Martin Tupper. He's a recently divorced book editor in Manhattan. Martin's life is filled with fantasies and sexual thoughts, many times coming in the form of black and white shots from old TV shows and films. Now, I was really kind of first taken aback by this show, guys, because there was a lot of nudity in the show, and I was not expecting that type of stuff. I mean, it's R-rated for language and everything, but this is one of the reasons why I liked it. But the thing that I liked most about this television series was that the way Martin Tupper was brought up, and it's shown in the opening credits every time, where he is in the 50s as a child, sat in front of a television, and they're watching a black and white TV, and he's just sitting there watching TV all the time, and you see him getting older and older and older. I'm not blaming my parents for this. I'm actually kind of appreciative because TV became a babysitter for me. And whenever people ask, why do you like movies and TV so much? Well, it's like Dream On. And people go, huh? What's Dream On? And sometimes it falls on deaf ears and they don't know what it's about. But I totally related to this series. And I always thought it was kind of funny. It was always black and white stuff, like old-timey shows. Nothing like within the 70s or even like early 80s. And I'm sure that has to do with rights. It's easier to get the rights for a lot of these old shows. Plus, they get a lot of really funny reactions to old movies and TV series. When he's trying to explain a situation, it cuts back to it. It kind of reminds me of what Family Guy has done over the years. You know, there'll be a scene, and then Seth's, of course, creativity in their group, they would flash back and make up a completely animated version of type of theme that the Stream On is. But anyway, this is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It is streaming on Roku channel for free. I've watched the first 2 seasons just recently. It was fun to get in there. And how many guest stars that they had, and now either were famous at the time or became famous later. And this show was a big hit, and I can tell too, because towards the middle of season 2, they were getting main stars playing themselves at certain events and movie premieres and stuff like that. Anyway, a big deal for me, Kyle. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you because you had HBO before I did, so you kind of saw that landscape of the programming before I did.
Yeah, when this show came out on HBO, it was a weird time for HBO. They were just starting to really kind of get into original programming. It wasn't where, oh my God, there's an HBO show coming out, we need to check this out. We hadn't hit that point. That the show that really kind of turned that for HBO, and it was actually a show that even came out before The Sopranos. The Sopranos is the one most people think of, but it was actually Oz that really got people noticing what was going on with HBO. Dream On came out a little bit before Oz. I think if Dream On comes out, say around the same time Sex and the City comes out,
yeah,
Dream On has a much bigger audience and much more hype on HBO because HBO just wasn't there yet. And
yeah,
it's an interesting thing. And Dream On's kind of gotten lost in the ether because of it. And like you said, it's hard to find. It's now streaming on Roku, but you could not find this show for a long time.
Yeah, and Lacey, like you said, they only released the first 2 seasons on DVD, and that was it. And I think it went on for like 4 or 5 or 6 seasons.
Yeah, and I found I was looking on eBay because I was like, maybe they released it in China or maybe Australia, and I found one guy who said that he had however many episodes, all 6 seasons, and I was like, oh, that's a good deal. It was like $27. I was like, that can't be right. And I looked at the thing, and it said, it comes on a flash drive. And I was like, oh, Okay, no, thank you. Now I don't have a problem buying, alternate country media. That's fine. And usually when it comes to the US, if it is finally released, I'll buy the United States version. But I'm not going to just blatantly buy something that's just absolutely ripped off of,
Well, what I don't understand is, when I remember subscribing to HBO again, several years ago or whatever it was. I think it was 2019 when we got in the house, and I don't understand why they're not showcasing it. I mean, probably because they have to pay, the cast and everything.
Residual.
And there's a lot of rights from all those TV clips too.
I guess, they have to. First of all, I just want to say the stars Brian Benben with Denny Dillon as his secretary and Wendy Malick, who played the ex-wife. I know they have to pay royalties on these, but you would think that they could still make a noise with this and it might become streamable again. I don't know.
They can't. There's a certain date in time where shows before that, they didn't have streaming services. And if the clients are not willing to come back to the table to sign new contracts for streaming residuals, HBO could play it on their television show. They could play it on like HBO if you're, subscribed to cable, but they wouldn't be able to offer it on the streamer. And that causes a lot of problems.
Kyle, wasn't there I remember finding it on DVD. There was a football TV series or something called First and 10 or something.
I have that.
Yeah, that I found the entire series at a thrift store, and I didn't know that existed. And I'm looking at all the sports stars, looking on IMDb, going, that's another show that got lost in the ether with HBO.
Well, really, the probably this time frame of HBO, the show that's the standout show, is Arliss.
Arliss, yeah. And of course, I mean, Sex in the City, which is a show that my wife loves.
This is pre-Sex in the City and all that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And there was a little show called Not Necessarily the News.
Yeah. That
was so great. And you can't find anything. It had like Stuart Pankin and I want to say Jerry Orbach was on there.
Yeah.
Like old school. I mean, really funny. Yeah, really good show. Fun.
All right, guys. The next thing we have, good show that came on. At least I think it's a good show. Everyone loves it from who have seen it. Is Northern Exposure debuts on July 12th. A city doctor is forced to work in a remote Alaska town of Sicily, where he encounters peculiar locals, including a former astronaut, as he adjusts to a small town life. Joshua Brand, John Falsey, stars Rob Morrow, Janine Turner, and Barry Corbin. By the way, I did forget to mention one thing regarding Dream On real quick. The creators were David Crane and Marta Kaufman. I don't know if you guys know those names, but they were the creators of Friends. And so they got a little busy after a while. So I forgot to mention that. I had to mention that. But back to Northern Exposure here, guys. I got a complete set here right in front of my face here. This seems to be a very beloved series. I know this series also has a lot of music in it as well. Janine Turner, of course, maybe a breakout role for her, as well as Barry Corbin with Rob Morrow. I never watched this show. I never watched it in reruns. My wife enjoys it. I have a lot of friends that enjoy it. I actually bought the entire series on collection here. Still have yet to watch it. It had trouble being re-released because of music rights. It was one of those issues as well. Lacey, you don't seem to be a fan of this series. Am I picking that up?
I tried so hard. I love Barry Corbin. I love John Corbett. I love Rob Morrow. Ed. The character's Ed. She's something. He's Billy Drago's kid. You know who Billy Drago is? Like,
you mean the
guy who played Ed in this show was Billy Drago's son, or is, and I loved everybody in this show, and I tried to watch it so many times, and I was just like, oh my god! I know it's set in like northern, I guess it's set in Alaska or whatever, and it's shot in Vancouver, but it really was.
I think it was actually shot in Washington, like near Oregon or something like that. I thought.
Honestly, I gotta tell you, I just don't care. Like, it was so slow. Like, it was so slow. Like, I felt like I was at the dentist office waiting for literally anything to happen every episode. I wanted to like it so bad. it was not to be. I've owned that series 3 separate times where I buy it and be like, I'm gonna get through it this time. I'm gonna do it. And then I just couldn't do it.
Okay. So not for you. Well, Kyle, of all people I thought it would be for you, but maybe not so much, because why?
This show's interpretation of Alaska is so wrong and off base.
Do you want to explain why you say that, Kyle?
Because they didn't even film it in Alaska. They didn't do any research about Alaska.
Kyle, you're bearing the lead here. Tell the people that don't know. Tell them where you grew up.
No, I was born and raised in Fairbanks, Alaska.
There you go.
This show was a very sore spot for anybody who's truly from Alaska, because this show
Are you speaking for you and your family, or
no? There was a lot of hate for this towards this show because they were so hyping the Alaska aspect of it in the early part of that before it even came out. And when it came out and we saw what it interpreted it as, everybody was disgusted. And if you're from Alaska, you felt insulted. You really truly felt insulted.
I feel like this is definitely one of those shows that led to having on-set like consultants and experts, just because I agree. Like it was, I mean, and I'm not from Alaska, but it didn't portray the Great North or Great White North or whatever as very intelligent or very successful in doing anything. It was kind of bad.
It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if you guys are in the minority, but so many people love this show and
very popular. It was very
don't care about them. By the way, real quick, I want to mention it's filmed in Washington State.
Cool.
Roslyn, Washington is the exterior of the so-called Alaska city of Sicily, and then Easton, Washington, and Redmond and stuff. This is where it was filmed. But I feel like we might be in the minority. I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to judge it. But it seems like you two might be in the minority because this show took off. It was huge.
Oh yeah, it was a huge show.
I mean, so many people love this series.
And
I think it was more the characters.
I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it was the characters that people bought into more than anything.
All right, guys. Next, July 14th, the Howard Stern Show starts in 1990. But it starts on a TV Channel 9 show, WWOR television. And of course, Howard Stern and Robin Quivers, they go to television after graduating, I guess, so to speak, to television. And it's a raunchy show. And I remember this show was so popular that people were recording this and sharing it with people and selling it, because I didn't have access to this, but I had a friend of mine who had a bunch of these on VHS. And even after 1990, in the early 90s, these were so raunchy, and with characters like Stuttering John and all these other weird people, they would come in to host these. He even had the Ramones, famous punk band Ramones, because they were actually on one of their last tours, and I saw the Ramones during this time on there, and that was a big deal. And it was kind of like this underground thing, and then eventually Howard Stern joins the E Network. Kyle, what are your memories of this?
I remember all of us. It was kind of out of the blue in a way. Everybody wanted to be part of that. Everybody wanted to be in the Howard Stern business because everybody was checking it out, because nobody knew what he was going to do next. And I actually had WWOR TV on cable in Alaska, of all things, so I was familiar there. And then when he went to E, obviously that was huge. But Howard Stern, very much similar to somebody else we're going to be talking about in part 2, Andrew Dice Clay. These guys were the definition of shock value. Yeah. And especially in the early 90s, shock value was huge. And so shock value was something that was going to get eyes on you, because people were looking for something different and something that was against the culture. And that's what Howard Stern was. You had no idea what was going to come out of his mouth. And that's what people wanted, was the shock value. And like I said, everybody wanted into the Howard Stern business in the early 90s.
It was also audio cassettes that were circulating around, the people that didn't have access to his radio show too. So, Lacey, what are your memories of Howard Stern show at this time?
I don't agree with putting him and Andrew Dice Clay in the same category. I think that Howard Stern, some of his, I don't. A lot of his stuff was mean spirited, right? Like he would bring people on the show under one, like telling them that he wanted to talk to him about one thing, and then he would just blindside them with something else, and it was mean, and it was crash journalism, and it wasn't.
He got flack for stuttering John,
he got flack for a lot of things because he was kind of a dick. I mean, he was not nice to his the
people he was interviewing. He would ask these very crass questions.
Yeah, and then like his wife had a miscarriage, and he did like a whole show on it, talking about like how he flushed his son down. I was just like, what is happening? Like it was. I stopped. I was like, yeah, I don't. He's just mean. It was just mean.
I just always wondered, like, Robin Quivers has stuck with him through all this time. They've been like the best of friends and stuff.
More power to her, man. Like, if he can put up with it, that's one thing.
He's evolved. He's matured.
Yeah.
When you watch his show, and I watch his show now because he gets a lot of like celebrities that I like. He gets high, like really important music acts on his show now, which is fun to watch. Stuff like that. So,
but I think Andrew Dice Clay was a little bit more tongue in cheek. Like he would always be like, say a thing,
please. What I'm, and the only reason why I'm putting him in this, like I said, they both played up in different ways, but they both played up for shock value.
A little bit counterculture. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So that's why that was what popped in my head.
Yeah.
At that point. So.
Mm-hmm.
The next TV series did not last long. July 16th, Into the Night, starring Rick Dees, premiered on ABC, the late night interview show hosted by radio personality Rick Dees. Creators were Rick Dees himself and his buddy Jay Wolpert, and of course stars Rick Dees. And it was basically an interview show on, with this radio personality. And Rick Dees made some music waves by doing Disco Duck. And being doing it in a duck voice. It was like a novelty song that came out, and then he was, of course, a radio show host for the longest time. But then he jumps in front of the camera, and I remember him getting some good interviews during the thing, but unfortunately, it didn't last. So, yeah. Do you guys have any memories of Rick Dees?
No.
More radio than this, but this was at a point where you get a talk show, and you get a talk show, and you get a talk show, and
pretty much. Yep. All right, Kyle.
I'm remembering Rick Dees as a completely different person. Like that is not what I thought who I thought Rick Dees was. I remember the name, but that is not the guy that I
think he also hosted. He did a lot of hosting for like main events. I think he was also like on, some New Year's parties and stuff like that. He was always one of those celebrity guys he was great for his radio and his radio voice, and he knew music really, really well. And, he knew a lot of the music stars, but he was also a favorite. Like if you need someone to host a parade or something like that, he was always making those circuits, and his radio show was great. He played a lot of the classics and some of the new stuff. And he was a great radio interviewer as well. So, yeah.
Kevin, he was kind of just real quick on Rick Dees. He was kind of the guy who followed in the footsteps of Shadow Stevens.
Yeah.
He was kind of the next guy after Shadow Stevens, like that DJ everybody knew.
Yeah, but I remember Shadow Stevens, so I feel like Rick Dees might have been in his shadow.
I see what you did there. All right, next, July 27th, 1990, The Swamp Thing premieres on USA Network. When an attempt on Dr. Alec Holland's life leaves him consumed by deadly chemicals and fire, the swamps of Louisiana transform into a superhuman creature hell-bent on ridding the swamp of the world of what evil men do. Stars Mark Lindsay Chapman, Dick Durock. I think he was the stunt double that actually played the Swamp Thing. And then Scott Garrison in this as well. And I love how the series poster says, too intelligent to be captured, too powerful but to be destroyed. The Swamp Thing, the series, he's on your side. Kyle, I only recently saw the film The Swamp Thing a couple of years ago, and I actually owned it on Blu-ray. I enjoyed it. It was fun to cover on Time Warp, but I don't remember the TV series, or maybe I did, and I don't know. Did you get into this at all?
So around this time, you had the first and second Swamp Thing movies come out, and they became a bit of a cult classic. And at this time, USA Network was known for taking weird things and making TV shows out of them, and they did that with Swamp Thing. And to be honest with you, for the time frame, it wasn't that bad. Now you go back and watch it now, you're like, oh my God, what? But It didn't last long, but it had some good performances. It actually at the time stayed very true to the idea of what Swamp Thing was, and they didn't play it too campy. And that's what made the show good. They understood what it was, but they didn't play it too campy. The hilarious thing about Swamp Thing is where Swamp Thing stands now, because in the comics, there's a couple of different writers. One in particular, Grant Morrison, who is a very famous comic book writer. He did a run with Swamp Thing that is considered literary genius, and it has elevated Swamp Thing so much up that James Gunn is actually working with James Mangold on a Swamp Thing movie for his DC Universe films.
Oh, James Mangold? Really? Wow.
So Swamp Thing has always kind of had this underscore. People have known who he was. This series was actually introduced a lot of people to it. You look back, like I said, you look back at it now, you're like, yeah, this is rough. But at the time, it was fun. You enjoyed it. And it was what it was, an oddball show on the USA Network.
Adrienne Barbeau's still with us, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. She should make a cameo. That'd be great. Lacey, your thoughts on Swamp Thing? Did you watch it?
Yep. I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute still. No, I remember. I feel like I saw the movies. I don't know that I saw the TV show, but I did see that James Gunn has the new. I mean, it's on the roster. It's not even. I mean, it's like it's got. I think it's got a release date of like 28. I think like it.
And Mangold is still working on the script.
That's good to hear. Nice, very nice. Next, we have. And this was a show I don't remember, but I feel like I would have watched because I love Tim Conway. July 29th, Tim Conway's Funny America premieres on ABC. Well, sort of. Tim Conway's Funny America is a 1990 television series starring Tim Conway. Its first episode aired as a special on April 29th, 1990. And it was broadcast as a weekly series from July 29th, 1990 to September 2nd, 1990. And it's seeking a compatible series to insert in its Sunday evening lineup after its America's Funniest video shows. ABC aired Tim Conway's Funny America in the summer of 1990, of course, starring Tim Conway. And a lot of practical jokes, a lot of funny skits. And there was one as an aerobics class leader. But here's an interesting part. The latter in the guise of his character, Dorf, a dark-haired man with normal-sized head, body, and arms, but extremely short legs and an odd foreign accent. Conway presented the resulting videos to the studio audience. And we all know about the Dorf series. You know, Dorf on golf, Dorf on this became a hit on video. Lacey, you're looking at your collection there. Do you have one of those?
I have all 8 Dorf films.
That's amazing.
I love Dorf. I love Steven. I love Conway. He's so funny. But yeah, I have like it's called like the Ultimate Dorf Collection, I think.
Gotcha. Did you watch this series though when it came out?
Yeah, I remember seeing it. Very clearly remember seeing it. And I want to say this is around the time because this is probably I saw Tim Conway and Tom Poston on stage playing The Odd Couple, and that's kind of what sparked my interest in because I don't know that I had kind of pegged him as being on the Carol Burnett show and everything. I think that's what kind of started me on it was seeing him and then seeing this and then going back and watching all the reruns of Carol Burnett show and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love Tim Conway. The elephant the thing is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
The what?
I will have to send you a video. There's an set of outtakes from the Carol Burnett show where Tim Conway talks about a pair of Siamese elephants, about a pair of conjoined
okay. Elephants.
They're
Gotcha.
conjoined at the trunk, and when they sneeze, they go Nerf, and it's and
Tim Conway was a comic genius.
Together, yeah.
And I love Tim Conway trying to crack people up during the Carol Burnett show. That's one of the greatest things. So, Kyle, do you remember this movie? This TV series, the Tim Conway's
remember this.
Funny America?
Again, it was a kind of a precursor to other things that ABC did along. It was a weird time for Conway because I really think the Dorf thing kind of revitalized his career, but he was also kind of like from another time period for a lot of people, you know? So I think this was something that really kind of helped revitalize him. It got him Dorf. I know this didn't last that long, but it it saved his career, I think, in a way. It revitalized it and introduced him to a new generation of people.
Gotcha. Next TV series, I don't remember at all. And I actually got it confused with another TV series by the same name. This series, July 6th, ended, and we're talking about the 1990 TV series TV series that ended in 1990. And one of them started in 89, only lasted maybe a half a season, and that is called Snoops, starring Tim Reed and his real-life wife, Daphne Maxwell Reed. Snoops is an American crime-themed comedy drama television series which aired for one season, 13 episodes, from September through July 6, 1990 on CBS. The series was created and executive produced by series star Tim Reed and Sam Egan. The series centers around a criminologist and his wife and the comedic situations in which they found themselves embroiled in solving various crimes. The show starred real-life married couple Tim Reed and Daphne Maxwell Reed, as well as a child actress, Tasha Scott. Now, when I saw this on the list, I put in IMDb Snoops, and I got it mixed up with a Gina Gershon TV series that starred and only had 13 episodes and premiered in 1999. Creator was David E. Kelly, starring Gina Gershon, Paula Jai Walker, and Edward Kerr. And this was the detective series with a comical note. Glenn Hall runs an unconventional, flashy private detective agency in Los Angeles and means business above all. Never mind the rules if she can get around them. So I just kind of funny that there was two shows called Snoops about detective and kind of have a comedy twist on it.
Yeah.
One of the first one, the one that we're talking about now, is basically kind of an answer to like a more localized Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
Yeah.
The second one is a kind of a almost a rehash of Moonlighting.
Pretty much. There you go. Yeah, well said, Kyle.
Both were fun though. I watched both of those shows and they were super fun.
They tried so hard to get Tim Reed another project.
Love him so much.
I love Tim Reed. I'm a huge fan of Tim Reed, and he always they really him and his wife the chemistry he has with his real life wife is so good on screen whenever they're together. The problem for Tim Reed is this: he never escaped being Venus flytrap.
Yeah, it's interesting. He actually, yeah, pretty much. And what's interesting too is he actually made a jump onto the Highlander TV series. I know he was in one for sure. He might have been in a couple. He was a police detective. Yeah.
What is Venus flytrap? What?
WKRP
in Cincinnati.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
He was the other DJ.
Yeah.
So yeah. Venus flytrap.
I love Tim Reed. This show, again, he tried so many different things. This is just one on the list.
Gotcha.
Next we have, guys, I remember this show we had also ending in 1990 was July 8th, last episode of Mr. Belvedere, which started in 1985. The humorous adventures of an English housekeeper working for an American family stars Christopher Hewitt, Bob Uecker, and Eileen Graff. I just remember Bob Uecker a lot in this too because I was a Bob Uecker fan. And of course, Christopher Hewitt played Mr. Belvedere. I don't remember watching this religiously, but I do remember seeing episodes from time to time and enjoying the show, but I wasn't a diehard Belvedere fan. What about you, Lacey?
Yes. I was a big fan of Mr. Belvedere. I watched it every week or whatever. I do remember they got a lot of flack from having like the HIV episode. There was a very special episode that talked about one of the kids' friends had AIDS or HIV.
Oh, wow.
I remember there being and I want to say that led to the cancellation because I mean, this is like right around the time 1989, 90 was like, you don't talk about certain things. It was a very, but it was actually called, I remember seeing it on TV. I remember there being like the precursor beforehand saying, this is a very special episode. This is, please watch this with your children,
right.
And it was like, be prepared to answer questions. Like it was very,
yeah.
It was a trigger warning basically before there was a lot of that going on. Certain episodes.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on Mr. Belvedere?
It was, I'm like you, I didn't watch it on a regular basis. It would pop up in like an afternoon syndication a lot or things like that. Of course, Bob Uecker was the big thing out of that. It was one of those shows that and Webster. Those were the two shows I always kind of associated together with in this time frame. So
Gotcha. Okay.
It was there. It was a show.
All right. Next, we have Open House. The TV series Open House ends in 1990, July 21st, started in 89. So obviously it didn't last a full season here. The short-lived TV series focuses on Linda Phillips' real estate office and her interaction with her co-workers, including her main rival, Ted Nichols. Stars Alison LaPlaca, Philip Charles McKenzie, Danny Gans, and Ellen DeGeneres. I don't remember this show at all. I do remember, is Danny Gans the same guy who went to Vegas and like did a Vegas show? Because I felt like that name was in lights in Vegas. I can't remember, but I feel like I did. I was a big Alison LaPlaca fan. I remember her guest starring role in Friends, but she's been in a bunch of other stuff. But I didn't realize Ellen DeGeneres was in this cast as well. Anyone else remember this show?
I do not. And I was zooming in on the picture to try and see who was in there. And I was like, I don't think I recognize anybody. Is that Ellen with like shoulder length hair? What?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're in that's very, very, like the cast right there, that cast picture that you're showing is the most 90s photograph I've ever seen in my life. The clothing is so perfect for that, for like the transition from 80s to 90s. That's it.
So I was looking at Danny Gans. He was in Bull Durham, Roseanne, but Kyle, you may find this interesting. He wanted to play third base for the Los Angeles Dodgers, but after high school, he was drafted by the Kansas City Royals. And he played for Chicago as well. So there you go.
I don't remember this show, but Kevin, I'm going to invoke something of your wife. For a long time, it was, if you couldn't get Kirstie Alley, you got Alison LaPlaca.
And I don't know who that is. Like, I do not recognize that actress.
Really? You don't remember?
Yeah, I don't recognize her at all. I'm trying to think of other things that she might have been
Kyle,
in.
do you want to educate Lacey on this? On Alison?
Alison LaPlaca has been around actually for quite a while. Her probably most recent thing was she was on that series Mom for a while, but she's one of those ones. She was in Fletch. She's always been popping in stuff. Yeah. She was in episodes of Remington Steele. Okay. She did a show called Duet, which lasted 54 episodes. She was in the movie Madhouse. She did this Open House, but she would always pop up. She was just one of those faces.
John Larroquette show. Yeah. She was on the John Larroquette show for like 50 episodes.
Yeah, she was a love interest in the John Larroquette episode for most of that run. But she was in episodes of Friends, Seventh Heaven. She's always popping up in things, and she's one of those like that people faces. But there was because of just how she looked, and she had a certain way she carried herself, similar to Kirstie Alley. So there was always a running joke of, oh, well, you can't get Kirstie Alley, you get Alison LaPlaca.
Yeah, she was also very good at sarcasm when she would have to play that role, that type of person. So yeah, I always liked her. I thought she was cool. So yeah, you'd always see her popping in and out. Okay, I'm excited about the next show here because we got something fun to share here. And Kyle brought this to my attention. Also ending in July, only lasted the season. We had the show Sister Kate, a nun whose vocation has traditionally provided assignments to cultured settings, is assigned to an orphanage inhabited by a motley group of children. Of course, stars Stephanie Beacham as Sister Kate, Harley Cross, Hannah Cutrona, and Jason Priestley of 90210. Kyle, I'm going to let you start on this because I want you to set up what we're going to share here.
Well, I'm going to throw some fun fact. I like Stephanie Beacham. I've always been a fan of hers. I always have a soft spot for her, so I watched the show. Interestingly enough, obviously we know Jason Priestley was in 90210. Stephanie Beacham played Iris McKay, mother to Dylan McKay, on 90210.
Oh, God, really? Wow.
Yeah, but more importantly about Sister Kate, it really didn't last that long. It lasted one season. It didn't really catch on. But Sister Kate came out at the time. A band we talked about earlier was incredibly popular. And that particular band, probably the most famous episode of Sister Kate ever, showed up on an episode of Sister Kate and performed on that episode. And that is none other than Milli Vanilli. Now,
Milli Vanilli was making their rounds in 1989 on television appearances, Kyle.
I made Kevin aware of this fact before the show started, and you found a little something before the show started there, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm going to play a little clip from their appearance. So if you're watching the video, you get to see it, but the audio, you'll get about, maybe about 20 seconds with both Rob and Fab talking to the orphan, the kids here, basically. And it's actually sweet and kind of interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and play this here for you, guys. Make sure, let me know if you can't hear it. Here we go.
You haven't.
That's Rob.
So when we heard you were in trouble,
that's Fab.
We came on a double.
Sister, since we came around, would you like to sample our sound?
Far be it from me to miss a concert for free. Just cause I'm a nun, I still like my fun.
Anyway, and then they go on to perform, I think it's Blame It on the Rain or something funny like that. So, Kyle, I give you props for finding that little ditty there.
I try. I have that half of the brain from you right now. So,
Lacey, do you remember Sister Kate at all? I do.
Yeah, I do remember it. I don't remember Milli Vanilli being on it. I remember. I remember that, and I think the Father Dowling mysteries were kind of on like near around the same time. I don't know, but when I think nun, I think other than Whoopi Goldberg, it's always Sister Kate and Sister Steve from the Father Dowling mysteries, and then of course back to the Flying Nun. But this is it was a cute show.
Stephanie Beacham had a run on Dynasty as well, and then of course I remember her in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation as well. So that's a deep cut there. So
wow.
All right, well done, Kyle. Next we have top-rated 1990 television programs, and this kind of covers throughout all of 1990. We pick a few of the big ones here, and of course one of the big ones, guys, one of the more popular ones and the creepy ones was Unsolved Mysteries. It was rated number 16 out of the top 30. It was on NBC, got about 15.5 million viewers. Hosted by Robert Stack, this series thus using reenactments and interviews to retell the circumstances of mysteries that are unsolved, covering crimes, tales of lost love, unexplained history, paranormal events. There might have been a couple Bigfoot episodes. I can't remember. But Kyle, what are your thoughts on Unsolved Mysteries?
I mean, it was an institution. Robert Stack became famous from that. Of course, for most people of that generation, the other thing they remember Robert Stack for, he was the voice of Ultra Magnus in Transformers the movie, which came out in '86. But I mean, it became a staple, and it's been brought back a couple different times already. But yeah, this was a staple for over a decade. This show just lasted and went on forever and ever and ever.
Lacey, what about you?
As someone who doesn't watch reality anything, because reality's out there and I don't want to see it on my TV, is this the one where his son was kidnapped and he's...
No, that was America's Most Wanted. That was Walsh.
Oh, I see. Walsh. That's right. Adam Walsh. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. So this was this an actual things and then reenactments?
Yes.
So they were based on real...
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Because I know that he was in he was in one of the Naked Gun movies.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
He had like a cameo. I remember that, and maybe in one of the Abraham movies, either Top Gun, maybe Airplane or one of those. Yeah, but I remember him doing some cameos.
Now, America's Most Wanted was famous for actually catching criminals.
Yeah, they would put hotlines.
Unsolved Mysteries. Ever actually solved mysteries? Was there any news that came out? I can't remember.
Did they?
I can't remember either. Now that I think about it,
I was just kind of curious. I don't know. It was like unsolved and still unsolved mysteries. So I was kind of curious about that. So yeah.
Well, were they current unsolved mysteries, or were they?
It was a combination. It was a combination, Lacey, of current and then obviously the legacy of stuff that's been around for years. Like they might look into Bigfoot or a mystery of like 50 years ago, and then,
like Roswell, New Mexico. I feel like I remember something like that.
A bunch of stuff like that. Yeah.
Maybe. Cool.
All right, the next top-rated show we have here, and I can just say right now, I've never seen one episode. That is Matlock with little over 15 million viewers, and was at number 17. Ben Matlock is a very expensive a defense attorney who charges $100,000 to take a case. Fortunately, he's worth every penny, and he and his associates defend his clients by finding the real killer. Starring, of course, Andy Griffith, Linda Pearl, and Keen Holiday. I just know this was always on, and it's very popular. I just remember my grandparents watching it. You know, maybe even my parents didn't watch the show, so it just seemed like this was, not to be mean, but this was like the old people show. You know, this is the show your grandma watched. You know, I don't know, Lacey.
This is the show that proves to you that fandom follows their actors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Andy Griffith show, and then the Mayberry RFD, and then there are a few couple in the middle. Because I mean, Andy Griffith didn't start out being that gosh nice little, you know. I mean, he had some racier movies back in the day, like way back in the day, before he became, you know, sheriff of Mayberry. So I think this is one of those shows where it just really does show, like, prove that people who were in their 50s and 60s, they grew up watching Andy Griffith.
Did you watch it though? That's what I want.
Absolutely. I remember watching it. Well, then again, I also remember watching reruns of the Andy Griffith show and all that. So I kind of, you know, followed the same, you know, trajectory. I mean, I loved this. We would watch it at my grandparents' house in the summer. We watched the reruns. We'd all the 6 cousins would pile in on the giant king size bed with my grandparents and watch that after I think it was like right before MASH, or like it was after, I want to say it was in a block with Murder, She Wrote.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, what about you?
It's not a show that I dove into, but it's Andy Griffith. He was a legend, and like Lacey said, if nothing else, this is an example of an actor who gets a following, and they go anywhere he goes. And obviously, the character. This show lasted forever, and now has a modern day relaunch with Kathy Bates, which is getting incredible ratings as well. So, it shows you there's something for everybody out there.
Next show I didn't watch religiously, but I did dive into it from time to time. I did find it fun, and that is Coach on ABC. Around 15 million viewers each week, and is listed as the number 18th most watched show. Stars Craig T. Wilson, Jerry Van Dyke, and Bill Fagerbach. I remember jumping on this because I was like into football and stuff, and it was funny. But it was about college football, so I wasn't into college football at the time. Kyle was more into NFL, so I was just kind of like, I would just dive into it from time to time. I thought it was fun. What about you?
It was a long-lasting show, a lot of fun. Craig T. Nelson lived off that role. But funny thing about Coach when it first came out, what got people's attention was this was about the time Nickelodeon had launched Nick at Night, and they were playing a lot of classic television. One of those shows was the Donna Reed show, and it was incredibly. A lot of people were watching that, and then they realized, wait a minute, Shelley Fabrez is the daughter from the Donna Reed show, and they were going to watch Coach, and they were flocking to Coach to see her, and she ended up kind of becoming a bigger star, at least at the start of when Coach started, than even Craig T. Nelson.
Okay, so is on the picture, is that the girl on the left or the girl in the middle?
The middle.
Gotcha. Okay,
she was Craig
That's
T.
funny.
Nelson's
I had no idea about that.
She was his girlfriend and the sports reporter who covered the team.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's Jerry Van Dyke, as in Dick Van Dyke's brother.
Correct.
Lacey, did you watch the show at all?
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah. Love the show. And I actually followed, I can't say his last name, the tall blonde guy.
Craig T. Nelson?
No, the tall blonde guy.
Faberbach.
He played Marshall's dad on How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
So I followed him from Coach.
That's okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I followed him
Yeah.
from Coach to How I Met Your Mother. Yeah. This is a super fun, like, kind of. It was a sitcom. You didn't have to think a lot, and it was just fun.
I remember Craig T. Nelson because he was the villain in Action Jackson. He was really nasty.
Poltergeist.
Yeah, and The Incredible. But I will think this has some of the funniest outtakes ever. If you go on, like, because I mean, all their outtakes include like hardcore language that you could not say on regular, nighttime TV, and it's hilarious.
Well, guys, that is the end of this first segment here, or this of July. We've covered all of the top-rated TV, the debuts in summer and July, as well as the ones that ended in July. Let's go ahead and wrap things up, and let's get our final thoughts here, guys. So at the top of the show, Lacey, we talked about how summer was becoming new TV. Kyle, you touched on it too, with Fox kind of sending a trend with that. But Lacey, I want to get your final thoughts on this July part one of the TV, music, and pop culture in general.
I think that one thing that we didn't talk about was that in the 80s, one of the big things was sleepaway camp. And during the 80s, there were a lot of things that happened, like the Wayne Williams murders and a lot of like kidnappings and that kind of stuff. So I think people stopped sending their kids to camp so much. And I think that meant the kids are home. So let's give them more things to watch. I think that was one thing that we just didn't talk about at the beginning of this. And
it's funny. The whole summer camp thing was never a thing I did. There was a thing called Aqua Camp that I could ride my bike to, but we never went away to summer camps that we saw in movies and TV. And I was kind of jealous of that, to be honest with you.
I did summer camp for 8 years running through my church. And then I did did
you have any serial killers or anything like that?
No, but my summer church camp was at the same grounds where they filmed Friday the 13th, the first one. And so
Gotcha.
the little spots where we would meet up,
Right.
There was still, you could actually see like stained blood, like where they had killed somebody in a woodshed or something like that. There was still that was a big thing. But
so you were kept home, obviously, and you got sucked into TV.
Not kept home necessarily, but I just didn't have the interest in go. There were other camps I went to that were like 6-8 weeks.
Right.
For the whole summer you go to camp, and do sailing or archery.
But TV was still there though, because I know
No.
you're a big TV fan. No,
when you go to summer camp, there's no TV.
No. I meant at home when you weren't at summer camp. That's
Right. So I think that's one of those things that kind of took off a little bit. I think that's why we had more like programming in the summers, because a lot of people were keeping their kids home a little bit more during the summer times.
Kyle, what about you? Final thoughts?
This is a time when we're really changing the landscape. We're coming out of the 80s into the 1990s. TV programs are changing in the style. We've got a lot of shows that are debuting in the 90s that are really setting the trend and the direction for the next decade. And again, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, summertime TV became a bigger thing. Fox really changed the landscape. You had more risks coming to television. You had television being a much bigger influence, I think, on the culture than it was in the 80s. I really think 90s television really was a lot more influential on culture than television was in the 80s for several reasons. And we'll get into that as we go further along in the year and we cover other years of the 90s. But this was the start, and things were a changing, as they say.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Fox had a huge impact on us. And I'm just going to, I know I shared it on social media a while ago when it first happened, but I was at the Georgia World Congress Center when I was living in Georgia for, I think it was MomoCon or some other convention. I can't remember. I want to say around 2000, maybe 2018. I can't remember, but I went to a USA Today newspaper stand. I wanted a USA Today, and I paid my money and I pulled it out. And what was funny was that there was an older paper in there, and I'm like, what the hell is that? But it was just the entertainment section of that USA Today. Not because, it was the purple USA. It was all color coded. The money was blue, the sports was red or something like that, but it was purple. And I pull it out, and it's an original copy of what was promoting the Fox lineup back in 1987 or 88, whenever Fox first kind of hit with the new programming. And it was like someone either had it and stuck it in there that worked for the paper. So whatever reason, just the entertainment section from 1987 Fox or 88 Fox was in there. And I still have it today. And I don't know why that was there. But it reminded me how important you said Fox was to the summer lineup, Kyle, because a lot of those are premiering in the summer.
Yep.
Weird story, I know. But
Right on.
I can't explain it. No one could explain how that piece of paper got in there. So yeah, it was like someone went back in time and decided, I'm gonna mess with somebody that gets the next issue of USA Today. So there you go. Lacey.
Well, they do a lot of filming at the WCC, so it's entirely possible that they had used one of those machines for something in a shot from something that was maybe set in a different time. They just left it in there. And didn't get all the stuff out, or forgot that one item was there.
That makes sense.
Perhaps.
This is Time Warp 1990, July Part 1, the TV, music, and pop culture here on Time Warp. We are celebrating, of course, the TV series. But guess what, guys? Stick around because we have Part 2. We're going to be discussing the movies. As we close out the television segment and music of Part 1 here of June 1990, I want to remind you guys that we are the Fandom Podcast Network. You can find us on all the socials. Just search for Fandom Podcast Network, and also on Blue Sky at FanPod Network. And you can find me, Kevin. I am also on all the socials at Spartan_Phoenix and also on Blue Sky. Kyle, how can we find you?
Of course, you can find me all over socials too, including all of our great Facebook pages. You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW. You can find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW, and you can find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom.
Lacey, what are you on? Is it Letterboxd and what else? Discord, I think, right?
Letterboxd and Discord. Hello. Also, I'll be at Dragon Con next month, so if you want to come say hello, I'll be in the military sci-fi track room.
I miss Dragon Con so much. I got to get back there one of these.
Come on, do it. Bring it. Let's do it.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Join us shortly. Next time, our next episode will be covering the movies of July 1990. Thank you guys here for celebrating the television, the music, and pop culture. And next time, guys, remember, take that time travel machine and join us next time. Anyway, guys, we'll see you next time.